Thank you for the introduction. This is my brother Ashley with Prader-Willi syndrome, and he is 3 years older than me. We can go to the next slide. And then this was my family growing up. My brother was diagnosed with Prader-Willi as a baby. So we always knew he had that growing up. And when I was born, I just already knew that. And so, yeah, that was that. Growing up, I remember sometimes feeling embarrassment just around my peers, usually about my brother being different. But, and I think it's because I didn't really see any other examples of other people with disabilities much, or yeah, I just wasn't really exposed to it as much. And so, and as a kid, you always want to fit in. So I did feel a little embarrassed. Um, Stress and anxiety, this was more inside the home. I think tensions were always high between my parents and my brother, and often I would just hide a little bit and try not to cause more stress, try and remove myself away from yelling or fighting just to hide a little bit. Um, Another thing is some family members, I think, were a little bit less understanding than others. And so they projected their own shame onto us and my brother. And so although I didn't hear it very often, I did feel it. And I know that I think it took them many years to work through that shame to come to a place of acceptance. So I did internalize that a little bit too. Um, and then just taking on responsibilities in the house. It was usually at nighttime when my parents were trying to sleep and my brother was getting up, and I would just try and get him back to bed and try not to wake my parents up because I felt bad for them. I knew how exhausted they were, and I knew that they needed sleep. And um, so I tried to be that person to help direct my brother to go back to sleep and everything. In terms of relationship to food, I think my experience, oh, you can go back. Yeah. My experience, I think, is a little bit different to other families whose loved ones have Prader-Willi syndrome because my brother, he is food seeking, but not as much or as strongly as other families. So it wasn't until he was maybe 15 or so that we had to start locking our fridge and pantry. But that wasn't much of an adjustment for me. It was just how it was. And then I don't think it really affected my relationship to food long term or anything. Um, yeah, that's that. And then the next slide. This is us now. I think as we've grown older, we've really found our own unique relationship. We have this special bond together, and we have our own way of communicating, different little songs or things we like to do together. This is us on a bus trip going to the city one day in Melbourne. So yeah, I really like taking him out on adventures whenever I'm home. And as the years go on, I would say at this point in my life, I don't think I'm embarrassed really by my brother anymore. Sometimes if he does something wrong, or um, like if we're out in the street and he he did go through a stage of like kicking dogs, and that would be really hard to have to not be able to explain to people in the moment really uh, what was going on. So that was a little embarrassing, but not, I didn't feel shame for my brother. I just felt sad that um, that what he goes through, he can't really express it in words. So I think as I've grown older, I've just become more aware that um, like I have more empathy for my brother because um, he cannot communicate in words most of the time how he's feeling, and it comes out in tantrums or different things, whether it's breaking something or trying to throw things or slam the door or whatever it is. And now I am really proud to talk about my brother, um, and I'll get more into that in a few slides, and we can get the next one. So my brother is still in Australia, and he is living um, in a special home that my dad built for him and his needs, which is very amazing. Um, the difficult thing about being so far away is that communication can be very difficult. Um, Oftentimes, I rely on his carers or my family members to help facilitate a FaceTime call because my brother will just, he likes to press buttons, so he'll ring you, then hang up, then ring, then hang up, or he'll ring at different, in the middle of the night for me. And so the frequency, I think, of not being able to talk to him as much as I would like to is difficult. And then there are many times that I my only option to have access to my brother is through my parents sometimes, which um, sometimes I don't feel like talking to my parents, so um, I might not want to answer a call if they're saying, "Hey, I'm with your brother," because I know it will just turn into a conversation with my parent instead of just with my brother. So it feels very different. I can't just go and take him out on an adventure and have that special time, that one-on-one time with him um, when I'm overseas. And often, yeah, the conversation gets hijacked by a family member. Um, and you can go back one more, sorry. Um, and then along with that is just because I don't have the access to him that I would like to have, I do rely on getting information about my brother from my parents usually. And it's hard to, because they have their own sides of the story about what he needs and what his problems are and what's going well. And so sometimes I get conflicting stories from different family members or carers, and it's hard to know how my brother is because we do, I, I rely on hearing from other people, and his not able to really express that himself. So I do worry a lot about his health and how he's feeling a lot. Um, and then in terms of the future, I do worry a lot about um, because especially my dad has been such a strong advocate and educator in the Prader-Willi syndrome community. He has a wealth of knowledge. Um, I feel a little bit um, maybe ashamed that I don't know as much as he does. And so I feel like, he's getting older, and I do worry about um, if he passes, then um, like I'll be the next advocate for my brother as well as my other family member support. But I don't have all that knowledge that he does, and so I'll be responsible for his health or for his housing, and I do worry about um, not knowing how to support him the way my my parents do. Um, so there is that, and we can go to the next one. Support for siblings. So when I was younger, I did go for a couple of years to a siblings club, and this was a club for siblings like me whose brothers or sisters had other disabilities, mainly intellectual disabilities, and that felt really nice. Just if it normalized disability, and I think without that and without my dad's teaching me about disability, I think it would have been a lot more difficult for me to embrace my brother. Something that really helped me and that still helps me today is counseling or therapy. I did have that outlet. I was lucky to be able to go to counseling as a child, um, and talk about uh, anything. Um, and I did have my own struggles, and it is funny now because I do reflect on whether having a brother with PWS impacted, like, how much did it impact my mental health, or um, me being diagnosed with my own different things. For example, I struggled a lot growing up with homework and school, and I just put it down to stress, anxiety, and different things. But it wasn't until this year, actually, that I was diagnosed myself with ADHD. Um, and so I don't know if I would say um, that if I didn't have a brother with Prader-Willi, if my ADHD would have been diagnosed when I was younger, but it is something interesting to ponder. Um, and then just in general, learning about Prader-Willi syndrome and disability helped uh, helped me accept and love my brother. Um, and we can go to the next one. Um, and these are just some of the many traits I feel like my brother has instilled in me that I think a lot of siblings can resonate with. The ability to relate and connect to people of all walks of life very quickly, I think, is something that my brother taught me, and how to communicate with all people as well. developing patience and being a good listener, um, being understanding towards other people with disabilities, and then being an advocate for people or with people sometimes who cannot advocate for themselves. And I'll give an example of this. Um, I have worked in an after-school program, and we had two students who had disabilities, and I was being told by different people, "Oh, you shouldn't have them in the program. Their behavior is too difficult. Just write them up like you would any other child. 2 strikes and they're out." But I saw that was very, very unjust, and so I advocated for them with the school board, and uh, I really pushed for them to stay in the after school program with additional support, um, which was very, very hard to do, but eventually it did happen. And so that is something I'm proud of, and that's something that, again, my brother instilled in me, is to have respect for people with disabilities and make them welcome and accepted and included. And then just to close, I I love my brother to pieces, and he makes me very happy. And I hope to share my experiences more with PWS families, and um, yeah, be a support to anyone who needs it. Thanks.